right. Sorry for that. That tripartite report couldn't end, but I hope you got the message that we're trying to send across. The message that a lot of Nigerians are invested in Ponzi schemes. 18 billion naira was lost in 2016, 2017. And what surprised me is that that was when Nigeria was passing through a recession. And if people can lose that kind of money, you know, during that time, it says something, and that's what I want to interrogate today. Even as we still speak, a lot of Nigerians are still investing in Ponzi schemes. Joining me right now are my guest, Emomotimi Agama, HOD, Head of Department, Registration, Exchanges and Market Infrastructure Department at the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's SEC Nigeria. He's here with me. Welcome to you. It's been a while, you know.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Yes, thank you so much.
Well. All right, Johnson Chukwu, the Chief Executive Officer at Cowry Asset Management, is joining me from Akwa Ibom. He's not in Lagos today. He's in Akwa Ibom, not Lagos. Mr. Chukwu, welcome to the show.
My pleasure, and my regards to Agama.
Oh, your regards to Agama.
He's my very good friend.
Oh, he's a very good friend. Oh, I don't want to have friends on this show this morning.
It's by accident.
It's by accident because I didn't know both of you are friends, so that we don't have the same views. But anyway, welcome to the
he's
program.
An operator and I'm a regulator,
yes,
so we can't have the same views.
Yes, so your regulator is an operator. But Mr. Chukwu, I want to tell you something. Since your regulator is here, don't be economic or don't be economical with the truth.
We don't gag our operators.
I won't.
I don't say because SEC is here that if I say something now they will take my license. Don't worry, I'm in between both of you, and I will ensure that is not done. Okay.
I hope I'm strong enough.
All right, let's get started. Mr. Agama, let me start with you.
Yes.
What is a Ponzi scheme? Let's start from there, as basic as that.
Yes, very simply put, it's a fraudulent activity by unscrupulous elements to defraud unsuspecting investors, promising them very high returns at low risk for seemingly impossible situations.
At low risk?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chukwu, let me get your own view. What do you think is a Ponzi scheme? Because why I'm asking that question is, you know, we have Ponzi, we have pyramid schemes, and we also have multi-level marketing. You know, yeah, and a lot of people may say that they are all almost the same thing. What are your definitions of these?
Well, I think Agama is quite apt in his definition. Basically, a Ponzi scheme is a financial scheme that is designed to offer prospective investors returns that are untenable, and on which basis the scheme makes returns to the earlier contribution made by subsequent contributors, and eventually the system unravels when the flow of contributions slows down.
Okay. Is there a difference between pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing and Ponzi scheme?
Well, they are literally about the same thing. When you look at the pyramid scheme, a pyramid scheme is so that the earlier contributors bring in other contributors, and other contributors, but ultimately what happens in either a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme is that a kind of return is offered to investors, and those who are first going end up cashing out on that promised return. But subsequent investors who come in are unable to take their money out. That's what is common among them. It's a scheme that's simply unsustainable based on the fact that they offer returns that are not market realistic.
Mr. Gama,
yes.
If we take a look at the various Ponzi schemes that have gone on in Nigeria, you will see Nigeria was, I think, the most popular so far. You know, yeah, to an extent. I know there are also wonder banks. We'll come to that in a bit. The Umana of those days.
Exactly.
Yes, Umana of many years ago.
Yes, yeah.
About 10 years or
no,
15.
that's about 20 years.
20 years ago, yes. You know, Ultimate Circular, Pay Diamond, which other one? Oh, many of them.
A whole lot of them.
A whole lot of them. Isn't it strange that Nigerians continue to invest in this kind of Ponzi schemes?
Well, from history, it's not strange. Right from when it started in the 1800s. You know, Ponzi scheme actually comes from the word, from the name Charles Ponzi. Yeah, so
1920.
yes, so it is not new, and that happened in a developed economy like America, even though then it wasn't that much developed. But then, you know, it spread through and has always continued to be. So the truth about it is, the appetite for Ponzi schemes is greed. Basically, that's the appetite for Ponzi scheme. Because when you know specifically that a form of investment will certainly not yield the return that you are being promised, it's a red flag. But if you are greedy, you do not think about it anymore, right? So rather than investing with your head, you invest with your emotions because you want to make more money. And when you do that, you fall into the hands of these people who are psychologically gifted to be able to, you know, monitor what your thoughts are and your feelings are, as it were, to be able to, you know, nip you where they know it's so soft for you to be able to fall in. So that's it.
Mr. Chukwu, let me bring you in now. Mr. Agama is of the view that greed fuels Ponzi scheme. What's the role of ignorance? Because a lot of people would also say that it's not greed. I didn't know my right from my left. I didn't know that Ponzi is about taking from Peter to pay Paul, or robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Is it just about greed, or is there a role ignorance is also playing, greed or ignorance?
I think it's a combination of both. I actually wanted to add to his statement of greed that we also have the aspect of ignorance. You see, there are two categories of people who invest in Ponzi schemes. One, those who are driven by the, what they call greed avarice, who want to make returns that they know that are not realistic. And if you ask them to explain it, they can't explain it because they end up telling you, I don't know what they're doing, but they are promising they will offer me that. And you know, if somebody makes a promise, you cannot justify it logically. There's something wrong with that promise. So those people are driven by greed. Or some of them actually know the system will unravel. They believe they can just go in, they make as much as they can, and exceed the system. They say they will nose in and nose out before the system will unravel. So those ones are pure greed, not because of ignorance. So you have the people who don't even understand their issue, and somebody comes in and says, look, I put in 100 naira here, they gave me 50 naira in return. And they are saying, oh, I can actually go in and do the same thing, not knowing that that is a scheme that is bound to improve, make them poor. So you have those people who don't understand economic issues, who don't understand finance, who once you come with the proof of concept and say, look, I've done it, I went in, I made money and came out, they want to believe you, and out of ignorance, they put their money there. But the key thing are the great participants are people who do Ponzi schemes are reasonably knowledgeable enough to know that something will unravel. But you see, basic thing what they do is that it's a make-believe. So they first start with the first of people who maybe they start with 10, the 10 gives the return they promise, and the 10 goes out there and says, look, I got this return. And then it's 20, and 20 comes in, and from the 20 they're able to pay 10. And because the return they are paying, they are not making it from anywhere. So as the number of people who are coming in, as the rate of inflow is higher than the rate of exit, they are able to meet that commitment. And they actually take a chunk of this money for themselves. So because of that, people see these things as, okay, these have gotten this benefit, so I can also go and get it. And the key thing I have, those who are ignorant of the scheme, that is a Ponzi scheme, that's a fraud, and those who go in because they are very greedy, they want to get a return, they know it's not realistic.
Now, let's really equate the number of people that fall to greed and that fall to ignorance. Is it more, do we have more people falling to greed than that of ignorance? Because yes, financial literacy also has a role to play in all of this, which will come to investors' education in a bit.
I think we have more of the greedy people, because I give an instance. Last week, a friend of mine called me and said he wanted to find out from me. Somebody was offering me a return that clearly he knew that is not market realistic. And I said to him, well, I don't know the institution you are talking of. I don't know anybody who works there. But that return in today's market will be difficult for them to achieve unless they are doing micro credit lending, and then they are getting 5% return on a monthly basis. But other than that, if they are doing normal lending, they will not be able to achieve that return. So, and I don't know whether he went ahead with making the investment or not. A lot of people understand that, look, this is about the return in the market. And they can decide, because somebody offering. Let me give an instance, Nancy. You know, when Aspecto came, I had a friend who did their MBA with me in Lagos Business School. And she came to me and told me that she was taking the funds that Cowry was managing to investors. I said, what kind of return are they offering you so that we can see if something we can match? She said, she gave me a figure that was honest. I said, that is not realistic. That scheme is a fraud. She said, no, her friends have done it. I said, look, that scheme is a fraud. And but she still went ahead, believing that she could go in, cash out within the next few months before it will unravel. This lady that had an MBA, and eventually she got trapped. She came to me and apologized. I said, it's not my money that got lost, it's your money. But in that case, you can see clearly a lot of people who have reasonable level of financial resources know what to invest in and know what is safe and know what is not safe. But in a lot of instances, they are driven by greed and feel they can just go in, take the opportunity and exit, and that the roof will not fall on them. Before the roof will give in, they will exit it, and they eventually get trapped.
It's really so interesting that you brought in that perspective that a lot of people that are supposedly educated still fall prey to it during the MMM days. And I also heard that MMM is even back now. It's still trading, I don't know. That during the MMM days, you see even university lecturers, you see professors falling into that trap. And for an MBA holder to also fall into that trap. But in the midst of trying to do this show, I've been thinking about it for a while now, and I told my team, okay, we're going to do a show on Ponzi schemes. And while I was speaking with them, in fact, I tell them, I said, it's only when these things have really gone almost awry that I will get to hear. People don't come to me to say, please, Nancy, invest in this. But I will say that a few friends, just like two friends, that have come to me to say, Nancy, please invest in this, one of those schemes. I told the ladies, I said, don't invest in this. In fact, they were paying in dollars, actually. Their returns, they were paying in dollars. So whenever I go to my friend's store, I see her with a lot of people, parading the dollars. And I'm like, where are you guys? It's like, I told you, it's the return on investment. And I told them, I said, no, that this thing will still crash. And in fact, when I came back from my leave early this year, I found out that it had crashed. And I asked one of my friends, one cashed out. And I asked her, I said, you see, I told you this thing. How can you even be my friend and not listen to me? And she was like, oh, I thought I was going to. And she lost how much? 15 million naira that she couldn't tell a relative. She couldn't tell the closest person to her. You know what I mean? So we could see that it's about greed. I think we've established that it's not about ignorance, really. Because sometimes you may even have the information, but you just go ahead and do that.
You discountenance the information.
You discountenance it. Now, how entrenched is this culture in the country? Bearing in mind that even in other climes it happens. The United States, we've seen what happened. Benny Madoff is still in jail as we speak. He's serving a 150-year sentence.
Yes,
I think it was sentenced in 2008.
11 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. And he lost his children. In fact, a son of his died, entered the train and all of that. He's the one that has conducted the most successful Ponzi scheme, at least over a period of time. $65 billion that was lost.
Exactly.
You saw even celebrities.
Of course, the Jewish community.
Yes,
that
and
was
all of that.
Yes.
Why is this still entrenched?
Okay, because basically, greed is part of human nature. Basically, so yes, it's
I just remember what Warren Buffett said.
Yeah. So greed is part of human nature, and you also will be surprised to learn that people who you consider to be very poor go all out to borrow money, to invest, to make more money. So you can find that you cannot rationalize the attitude or the intent of people who fall into these schemes. So if you're very poor, you are hardly able to eat, and you go to the extent of borrowing money, that's for those people you call uneducated. They go to the extent of borrowing money to invest in order to make double money with the intention of returning those monies and then get trapped in it. So it tells you that it goes beyond ignorance. Because if it is ignorance, you certainly would not even think about going to borrow money. But because it is greed, something else that is driving that appetite for you to want to make more money, you definitely will not even listen to anybody, neither will you read literature, or even contact regulators that know they have this information to educate you on what to do. And you made a point which is very, very important for all of us to understand. And that point is that a lot of times when we get involved in it, when people get involved in it, they don't tell the other person. They only look for somebody very close that, after a long time before they tell that person. So things that you keep in secrecy should tell you that there's something wrong with it. It is only, at that point, you see, These educated people are the people that recruit more educated people. And the chain goes on to the point where people get so terribly beaten, and you see them start screaming.
Okay, we currently have a Twitter poll. For those of you watching us and you want to join the conversation, please go on our Twitter handle, Moneyline AIT, and drop your comments on the Twitter poll. Which of these fuels the rise of Ponzi scheme in Nigeria, either greed or ignorance? The question that I asked. Just tell me the category which you fall into, whether it's greed or whether it's ignorance. That's the poll that is ongoing right now. In case you also want to join the conversation, you can tweet me, buzz me at Nancy, and drop your comment on what we're talking about this morning, the rise of Ponzi schemes in Nigeria. Now, let's take a look at the capital market, because, in fact, what I said at the beginning of the program, if Nigerians can lose over 18 billion naira to Ponzi schemes, precisely MMM, when it lasted, you can imagine if that 18 billion naira was channeled into the capital market, for example. But what does this say for the capital market? That if Nigerians can have this amount of money investing in something that is fraudulent, that is a scam, does it mean that our capital market is not positioned enough to allow Nigerians that do want to invest to come into it? I hope you get what I mean.
I get, and I will respond to it. Yeah. So clearly, the truth about it is that, like I said, what drives Ponzi is greed. The capital market is properly positioned to attract Nigerians and to give benefit to Nigerians. All they need to do and know is get the right information and know where exactly to get it. The SEC has been doing so much in terms of education, as much as our resources can take us, but we know we still have a lot of room to do more. So, of course, we have a market relations division that helps people to understand whatever issues that they have around the capital market. But besides that, there are new products, varieties coming up every day in the Nigerian capital market. You have a lot of ethical funds. And one of the safest areas to invest in is in mutual funds, collective investment schemes. And we encourage Nigerians to be part of it, because the attitude of investing is a culture that has to be built over time as a result of savings ability, because it's what you save that you are able to invest. The Nigerian capital market is deep, very, very deep. It was in so much doubt that the Nigerian capital market is able to cope with any request for funding. But you can see what happened during the banking consolidation. Nobody thought the banks would be consolidated via the Nigerian investment. No, not necessarily foreigners. That's to tell you how deep the capital market is. Give the capital, okay, you just made, I heard the news where Nigerians oversubscribed the federal government bond by how many percent? Over 100%. That tells you that there is appetite, there is depth, and there is capacity. So all we need to do as Nigerians is to understand that you have to invest your money where it is safe, where it is regulated. The SEC is the apex capital market regulator in Nigeria. The Investments and Securities Act, Section 13A, provides us that power to say we regulate investment and securities business in Nigeria. And because we do that, we are able to take care of every situation that needs to be taken care of. Give approval to schemes and funds that we have reviewed. Because we must review them and make sure that they meet, basic standards and regulation. In as much as investment is a personal decision of the investor, we provide that, umbrella to say, okay, what is it that you're actually giving to the investor? Is it right for the investor? Or will there be any problem? Are there risks around it? Have you disclosed those risks? Because for investments that we review, we're asking you to disclose every risk to the knowledge of the investor. The investor now has a responsibility to ask himself, do I have the knowledge enough to decipher the kind of risk that we're talking about? Or should I engage a professional? The stockbroker, the lawyer, the accountant, and every finance professional that is registered by the SEC.
Mr. Chukwu, how about people that say there's no difference between capital market and Ponzi schemes, since you can lose money in both? Yes, you can lose money, that they are all risky. And for what happened in the capital market some years ago, where we saw the rise of margin loans, a lot of people went to the banks to borrow money to invest in stocks, and it did not work. A lot of their hands got burnt. How about for people that say, let me invest in Ponzi scheme, Joe? After all, it's all kalo.
Well, that's very interesting. In the first place, let me remind the investors of what everybody should bear in mind when you're making an investment. If it sounds or looks too good to be real, then it is not real. And I repeat myself, if it sounds or looks too good to be real, it is not real. Ponzi schemes are clearly sound and look not, too good to be real, unlike capital market. But let me define the underlying difference. Every investment in capital market is underpinned by an underlying asset, be it mutual fund, be it investment in equities, be it investment in fixed income instruments, be it investment in derivatives. All capital market instruments are underpinned by underlying assets, including what we call derivatives. There's still underlying asset behind every derivative. So if you unravel any investment in any capital market instrument, you will see the underlying asset. Take for instance shares. Behind the shares the shares you buy on the fraud and the stock exchange are companies are running that have operations, that are making profit, that are employing people, that are going to pay dividends. So if the prices, if you lose stock value in any stock, it's because you are cashing or you're trying to exit that instrument. That's when you can only lose value, unless the company goes belly up or the company fails. If you invest in a fixed income instrument, you can also lose money if you want to exit before the maturity of the instrument. But if you go to maturity, interest will be paid, the principal will be paid back to you. Similarly, in all the capital market instruments, there's an underlying asset which the investor is putting that money in. So it is not the same thing with a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme has no asset. A Ponzi scheme is a pyramid scheme that somebody is saying, when some people bring money, you pay those who came in earlier, and hoping that more people will bring in money so you can pay those who are coming in later. The money is not invested in any asset. If the company shares goes down, there's still a company that shareholders can actually take a decision to appoint new management to go and run and maybe turn it around. So similar with fixed income instruments. So unlike investment in Ponzi scheme, so people should understand that the Ponzi scheme has no underlying asset. You are buying into a grid that has been sold to you and say, look, if you put in money here, you can always have the money that they're asking you put in a Ponzi scheme, what is it going to be invested in? In 99% of the people you ask, they don't even know. Ask me, the money you are putting in Dangote Cement, where is it invested? I will show you the Dangote refinery, Dangote Cement tax rate. Ask me, invested in a bank, I will show you the branches and their head office, and I will show you the service they are being offered. So in every aspect of investment in fixed income in a capital market instrument, then there's an underlying asset. But tell me, where is MMM money to put in? They will tell you, transfer money to Nancy, transfer money to Agama, transfer money to this person, you have invested. So what do they use that money to do? So that's a key core difference between a Ponzi scheme and investment in capital market. Capital market instrument can lose value, but the underlying asset is still strong in most instances, unless there is an economic tsunami and the companies fail. If there's no company failure, if you hold on, you will recover your investment in capital market instruments.
Okay, about this Ponzi scheme, the rise of Ponzi schemes in Nigeria, is it really a threat to the Nigerian economy, to the growth of even the capital market?
Yes, it is a threat to the Nigerian economy. In the first place, if people who have made money, they nearly lose their money, they won't have the confidence to invest in other instruments. Just like we are seeing people who are confusing a Ponzi scheme to investment in capital market, because they went into the Ponzi scheme and lost money, and then you tell them to put money in mutual funds. They may not have the knowledge to know there's a difference between a mutual fund that is investing in a broad-based class of assets, unlike a Ponzi scheme. So when people lose money in an economy, be it because a bank failed, be it because they lost money in a Ponzi scheme, it has a direct impact on available liquidity that will be invested in instruments, in viable instruments. It also has a direct impact on the confidence of investors to go out there and put their money in assets that really generate income. So the key question is that the government, just like SEC, SEC, and the Ministry of Finance, and every law enforcement agency has a duty to protect citizens from even themselves. And that's when we want to commit suicide, they will hold you from committing suicide. So even instances where people are out of greed want to invest in Ponzi scheme, you have to restrain them from doing that, either by taking out the Ponzi scheme out of circulation or put a process in place that will be difficult for the person to make a transfer to a Ponzi scheme, because once that value is lost, you mentioned 18 billion naira that was lost. I think you said 18 billion
Yes,
naira
18
that
billion.
was lost.
Yes.
So that money, like you rightly pointed out, could have been invested wisely in assets that would create economic activities. But once they are lost, those people would go back to stock and they won't have the liquidity to invest in proper instruments.
Now that
So
brings
it's a
me
threat to any economy.
That brings me to the role of regulators in all of this. And I don't mean just the Securities and Exchange Commission. NDIC, the central bank, is it just about saying, oh, it's not good, or it's not good, or you people just keep on bringing out statements? Can't you go beyond that?
Right. I think it's important that your viewers are educated. We go beyond that. That's why we have an enforcement department. And within the SEC, we have the police unit. And most recently, I'm sure you must have heard about Dantata success, right?
That's the latest
The SEC went there and closed them down. As we speak today, what are we doing? We're doing verification for investors who had been trapped in that activity to see how we can pay them back from the monies we have recovered. And we do that for every Ponzi scheme or any illegal investment that we find anywhere in Nigeria. Yeah. So basically, for us as SEC, it's our responsibility, it's our duty as an MDA and as government itself to protect the investors. And the only way we can do that is when we get information from people. People must be free to get to us. They must be free to tell the SEC, this is what we see, this is what we are finding out, and this is where they are.
But during the MMM days, the Securities and Exchange Commission, CBN and NDIC, they released statements and press releases.
Yes.
Don't invest in that. But did you go beyond that to find out the perpetrators of that scheme, for example, and other schemes?
Right. That's what we are saying. People that invest in these schemes do not give you information as much as you need to be able to, because you know what they do? They want to protect those people in order for them to get their returns before they come and report. At the point where they are doing that, the people run away. So once we get information, we have whistleblowing, avenues on the SEC's website. Telephone numbers are there for you to contact the SEC, and immediately you do that, we'll set the ball rolling to dealing with those people.
Mr. Chukwu, what's the role of investors' education? Again, I have to come back to that because it's really important. I hammer on financial literacy here on the program. I do shows on it. In fact, my program, it's all about financial literacy. It's about economic literacy. It's about informing people that is what's happening in the financial world and economic sphere, market as well as investment sphere. What is the role of investors' education, even beyond what I'm doing here? I do this every weekday, but it seems that even what I'm doing is still not enough, or whether my blood should be a bit thinner or stretch myself more, to do a lot more. What is the role of investors' education?
I think investor education is very critical to minimize or reduce the number of people who fall prey to illegal financial schemes. Like we mentioned earlier, you have those who go in because of greed, and you have those who go in because of ignorance. But even those who go in because of greed, with further enlightenment, some of them may be restrained from making such investments. But unfortunately, if you look at the site, not just in Nigeria, anywhere in the world, the number of people who have financial knowledge or knowledge of economic issues are very inconsequential, are very minimal. A lot of people in any society would not be interested in watching programs like yours or any of the financial literacy programs.
In fact, people love to watch entertainment programs more.
Absolutely.
All these reality TVs now, you see a lot of adverts on them, and a lot of people are watching, but shows like this, we will talk and talk and talk and talk, and we're educating people.
In fact, I have a friend of mine who is a very senior person in government, one of the government agencies. He told me one day after watching me on your program, I said, Justin, you did so well. I said, which one, friend? Which of the program did you watch? He said, the program you had with Nancy. Which of the days? He mentioned the day. I said, okay, I can't remember what we discussed. I can't remember. I said, you know what we discussed, but he saw the way I was talking, I knew what I was saying. So he was not interested in the substance of the discussion. He only saw his friend on TV. And unfortunately, that's the reality. A lot of people in Nigeria and in other societies, other climes, are not interested in very serious programs, either on TV or on radio. They are interested in socially inclined, easy-to-play programs. And therefore, they don't listen to issues like this. And that's why a lot of them fall prey. Because you see a lot of people, when I mentioned it, my friend, he's a very senior person, but he has minimal knowledge of finance. and he can fall prey to a Ponzi scheme because he has minimal knowledge of finance.
Okay.
But if you want to encourage them to listen to this program, read up newspapers, most people are not keen on percent.
Okay,
but
Mr.
It doesn't
Chukwu.
mean we should give up.
Yes. Let me just ask you this question coming in on Twitter. Ask Mr. Johnson, are there real money-making schemes different from Ponzi and the securities market? There's also another one here that says, good morning, Nancy. What about online forex trading, investment in goods like Longreach and Norlands? Are they still Ponzi schemes? I also want you to answer that in relation to what I want to ask you now. There was a lady that called me some time ago. I did a program on Ponzi scheme on radio because I also have a program on radio twice a week, RAPA. I talked about Ponzi schemes. And she called me that weekend and said, oh, that she's going for a seminar. And they asked her to bring, I think, 70,000 naira to invest in a landed property. Thereafter, she just said something. I was like, she said she's about entering there. And I told her, okay, if you enter there, ask them question A, B, C, D, that you'll be able to get your results from that. So answer that in relation with what was being asked on Twitter very quickly.
Okay, the first aspect of your question, are there investment opportunities beyond the Ponzi scheme? Yes, ranging from short to medium to long tenured instruments. Aside from the short, you can put your money in savings accounts. If they give you 5% interest or thereabout, it generates more as from the return other than keeping it idle under your pillow, which is subject to being stolen. You can put your money in fixed deposit with banks. They can pay you 10%, 12%. You can buy federal government treasury bills. You can buy federal government bonds. You can invest in equities, shares. You can invest in real estate property like you mentioned. You can invest in even derivatives like real estate investment trust. You can invest in mutual funds, which gives you access to multiple instruments. But the key thing is that if you are in doubt, if you don't have the competencies, you need to reach out to a consultant. A consultant in the form of a capital market operator like Cowry or any of the capital market operators, to guide you.
You just gave me adverts there now. I'll charge you.
But the basic thing is this. There are multiple classes of instruments people can invest in. Then on the issue of land, and I already mentioned it in passing,
okay,
where you don't have the competence to understand the instrument you want to invest in, seek for advice.
Okay.
I want also mention that fact that if it sounds too good to be real, it is not real.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chukwu. I'm being told that I have to end the show now, but Mr. Agama, in just 10 seconds, what's your parting word?
My parting word is that always seek for advice whenever you are in doubt. I mean, that is the caption.
Okay.